This is me with a couple of hats. I'm going to present today with my leadership associates hat mainly, because this is the hat that I will be working with both projects that I will be talking about today. The one focusing on individual health, and on the other hand, we also have a new part of a program, let's say, starting about organizational health, or also individual health and happiness within the work context. So these two aspects will go into. But I'm also actually part of the board of IFIS. So there I'm working with Bettina and Elke, and very happy always to host interesting people. As you also said, Antonella, very happy if somebody wants to present something actually in the framework of such a colloquium. And since the two projects are just starting, we thought it's a good idea actually to use the opportunity also to share about them. And yeah, some of the things that are relevant, let's say, in that aspect are that I'm also a part of Action for Happiness in the German-speaking world and of the World Happiness Foundation. And my whole involvement with the topic of happiness actually started in around 2018 when a happiness coach told me first about Action for Happiness, coming into my cafe at that time and saying, "Oh, this looks like a happy place." And then he told me about Action for Happiness and the idea of happy cafes. And on the next day, my cafe was the first happy cafe in Vienna, actually in Austria. This was really a situation like when you're, tapping onto a beehive or something. Suddenly, so many doors opened in the area of happiness, and one of them also led me to the World Happiness Foundation, Gross Global Happiness, World Happiness Fest, where I was also a speaker several times. And and also to the HEART team, a so-called HEART team of Action for Happiness in the German-speaking world. So that ever since 2018, the topic of holistic health and well-being stayed with me. On the one hand, also, let's say, on the theoretical level, I learned a lot, and stakeholders in that area and tools, and it was all, and still is all, very exciting. New tools being developed and so on. And at the same time, also on my personal health journey, that definitely got a boost around that time as well. To really, I was stretching my limits a lot with my cafe and a full-time job and being a single mom and all these happiness things starting. So that was an interesting experience. And also, in terms of having community, talking to people who are interested in that same topic. And it developed further then in the area of organizational development, and also on it's a broader community and health policy level when I did my last master's on urban resilience. So it was part of risk management, actually, but social cohesion and urban resilience was the topic of my master's. So this is what I found as part of my research. It was the Copenhagen Consensus of Mayors talking about healthier and happier cities for all. And I was very excited that happiness had actually found the way there, even into talk about healthy cities and health governance. There was also this topic about health governance, where really the determinants of population health were also very looked at in a very holistic way. And this is also a way that we want to look at health this evening. And we're specifically looking, as I mentioned already, at the question of the work environment, as well as here the social and community networks and the individual lifestyle factors. So these are the two areas that we'll be looking at today, but also, again, from a very holistic, integral perspective. And that's what we're trying in both of the projects. So I will come, after telling a word just about Leadership Associates, which is a global network of leadership development experts, trainers, facilitators, coaches. And I'm very happy that also Bettina is actually part of the network. And we're really starting the question of leadership with self-leadership. So you can see here Seneca's words about no man is fit to command another that cannot command himself. So we do believe that it's important really to start with self-awareness, also, and individual growth. And we're working on coaching, on team building, training programs in the area of leadership in a very broad sense, and also supporting systems, organizations, and leadership development, of course, is an important part of our program, and especially also women empowerment. So we have a lot of women from Women for Women programs also. And we also have a diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging program, because we believe that is really a very important part, what was also mentioned during the check-ins, right, for many of you as well. And in that sense, bringing together the belonging aspect with the women empowerment, actually, our colleague Blanca had already started during the pandemic to have check-in sessions with women in her network. And when we had the opportunity through a grant, we said, okay, let's work on having a more sustainable solution that is also more supporting the relating aspect, because if you only meet once a month and don't have any chance to get in contact in between, that's really a shame. You can learn and grow together much more if you have the opportunity to check in more often, to share resources, and so on. So that's when we developed the Women Lead community, and many of you are part of that. And yeah, it's about sharing resources, peer exchange, and also peer coaching sessions that we offer there. And the idea is also to be really a playground for practice, for people, women in this case, to also maybe try out workshops, and in the case of the new project, also try out different habits around health. So we started actually with EU co-funding and Women Lead community through the ACE Leadership Development Program, which is a cooperation between Leadership Associates and the Institute for Integral Studies. It's a great opportunity for women leaders in the not-for-profit sectors to come together, exchange, and learn. So we have another offer in January in Vienna, and we're very much looking forward to that. So that was our first experience with Erasmus and the grants around that. That's what we're starting now. It's our second grant about holistic healthy habits. And we're very happy this time to collaborate with Yippie that Gabi already mentioned, and Action for Happiness in the German-speaking world. So really to focus there on positive psychology, also on bringing our communities closer together, supporting each other in developing our communities. But in the very focus, there is the objective really to empower women to build sustainable habits to support their both physical and mental well-being. And actually, we even go beyond that, and we'll come to that in a second. The specific focus there is on women in transitions. So this could be going into a job, getting out of a job, starting care work, could be a divorce, could be moving to a different country. So many different transitions that we live through during our life. And especially during these transition times, it's often difficult to keep up with our habits and also our habits around health. And especially in that time with increased stress, this is exactly where we would need them most. So we thought, let's see how we can support women, especially during these difficult times, to reestablish habits that now work in their new environment, or also throughout the transition, of course. It might be something different that is needed than usual. And it's not only about the learning, but also a lot about community and building accountability possibilities around these habits. And the methodology that we will be using is based also on the Tiny Habits approach. So it's really about making them really simple. So even simpler than we would usually do. So it's often like you have to overcome this barrier of, I want to achieve this. You even think that it's small. I want to achieve this small thing. But if it doesn't stick, it's still too big. So there's also some, let's say, practice needed to allow yourself to really start small. And do it joyfully. That's also what several of you mentioned, right? It's so important to do things with joy, and that will also help you to stay consistent with the habits. So we hope that like with today's program, it will be as enjoyable for the women who are taking part. Definitely us as a team, we're planning on having a good time as well. And I don't know, Gabi, if you want to say maybe a word also about Yippie and how
Thank
we
you.
go together around it.
Thank you. I mean, from the historics and what is Yippie all about, the former idea initiative is about 4 years old. So we've been building, started 4 years ago, building a positive psychology community in the sense of a marketplace. It was the case, and the fact that there was a couple of educated positive psychologists, as positive psychology is a science, and science-based and evidence-based. And thanks God, there is in the Austrian and German-speaking area, so Switzerland, Germany, Austria, there today, speaking of today, there are, how to say, accepted, recognized education possibilities. So there are a couple of, how do you call, absolventen, so people who ran through trainings. And this basis, people wanted to collaborate, wanted to do something with what they've learned, as not all of them have the possibility to apply positive psychology in work. Many people just assigned in courses as they wanted, and this brings us also to the project, learn something for their personal life. But we are lucky enough to also have a couple of experts on Yippie who are applying it in organizations, in the world of education, so really in schools, universities maybe, and other many sectors. So to make the story short, we are working together and consisting of nearly 400 members now on Yippie, both experts, educated people, meeting members, so interested people who want to learn how to live a fulfilled life of well-being, of flourishing, as we call it in positive psychology. And yeah, it's like a marketplace. And I would say 70% happening online, but we also do meet in person and making like positive Mondays, positive Thursdays, and such kind of meetings. So the target and the audience is definitely people who want to improve their well-being, who want to stay healthy and not to avoid sickness, which will make a difference. And yeah, and it was a perfect fit meeting Angelika and making a couple of initiatives already together. Also meeting via Action for Happiness, where I'm also training volunteer and member, and really supporting the idea of being a Glückaktivistin, so people who support and being ambassadors
happiness
for luck.
activist, exactly.
Okay, genau. So, and that was in a short story, which brought us together, and we thought we have the expertise, we thought we have target groups which can be embroadened still, and yeah, the idea of starting a project for women with a holistic approach of those three organizations being involved was born.
Yeah, thank you, Gabi.
Thank you.
And actually, you can see Gabi and myself here on the picture. There, we are co-hosting Happiness Habits course, which is the name of the courses, 6 weeks courses that Action for Happiness has developed. So I put together a couple of spotlights here in terms of where the idea of the habits, already found some seeds, some soil, to grow on. And this 6 weeks course is also called Happiness Habits. So it's all about seeing where these important aspects that build happiness. And you can see here the 10 keys for a happier living from Action for Happiness. These the areas of gratitude, of purpose, of resilience, like where do we already find it in our life? So it's a lot about common reflection, and sharing, and also committing yourself. And that is a very important aspect actually of building habits, right? That you actually commit yourself, not only ideally towards yourself, but even to others. That helps us also stay with our habits. And that's the idea also with this Happiness Habits course. So that is one place where that idea also came from. And when I was looking back actually at my time when I just started out with the Happy Cafe, it was actually this kind of our first flyer with the happiness is a habit. So that's it actually started in 2018 already, that to bring these parts together when this was not even something that was yet talked about there at Action for Happiness in terms of the course. It didn't exist then, but it was already the slogan of my Happy Cafe from the beginning. So I found that very, very interesting. And this is where we hosted the Happy Cafe actually in the park. So that's why it's on the tree. It was a pop-up Happy Cafe in the park. And we developed this area of the healthy habits further, actually, Alexandra and myself. So Alexandra is also here, also a colleague and fellow happiness activist and a colleague at Leadership Associates. We were able already twice to support the women in Maria Hilfe district of Vienna. As part of the Women's Weeks, we presented a short workshop on healthy habits, combining this holistic view on health and well-being with the tiny habits approach and guiding women through. So that's kind of a mini prototype, basically. And all of this kind of came together as the idea for the joint project, at the same time as bringing the communities closer together. So what are we planning here? It's an online course because actually, especially we believe the women who are in such transition phases, especially when it's also maybe about care work, it's difficult to go places. And we're also targeting especially women for whom it's not so easy to access like regular workshops and courses and so on. So maybe because they are living on the countryside, or as we said, they have care responsibilities and so on. So the idea is to develop a 10-module digital program. And we also want to make this very accessible in a way that we want to record shorter audio modules. So that the women can actually do exercise, so maybe walk, take a short walk, and listen to the audios. Of course, we would also then provide, further material where people who have the time can also read up. But we really want to make it also accessible to those who do not have a lot of time. Just, what are kind of the latest learnings in the various areas, what's important to keep in mind, what could be tiny habits to look at in the various areas. So we're talking, as you can see, not only about the question of mental and physical health, but even also about financial health, kind of creativity as one possibility to nourish ourselves as well, this also through relationships. So there are many different aspects here, and we are very happy also to hear from you if you have kind of, when looking at this, if you have the impression, that's something I would be missing in that list, something where you say, but that was really important for me, maybe, or I know experts in that field that could also probably contribute very well to the program. So we are very happy for any input in this respect, because we're actually really just starting up. It's starting officially on the 1st of December. So we'll have a kickoff meeting then and start getting in touch with experts on all the different topics. Of course, we also have experts on some of these topics on board. So, for example, Alexandra herself is, as she mentioned, also has a background in creativity, especially in addition to some of the others. A very important aspect, actually, in addition to these modules, in terms of knowledge that, of course, you will gain, is this peer learning aspect and the accountability groups. So these are triads, basically 3 participants who hold each other accountable. And this is quite an interesting process that actually people in my spiritual community set up, and they had created an app and so on. It was like a yoga project that they developed, actually. And I learned about it, and I was like, it would be really great, to use that approach, where basically it's a peer coaching, actually, that you're setting up amongst 3 persons. And the idea is that it's always one coaching the next, basically, with their habits, because that way you avoid that when you're peer coaching each other, like in the same session, you're basically, it's difficult to really focus on the topic of the other person, because you also have your things with you, that you also want to get looked at. And if you do it in such a triad, you're really always talking as a coach to one person. And that person is, telling you how they are doing with their habit, maybe where they have challenges, and together you can come to maybe make it even tinier, for example, or find a different linkage to a habit that they already have, and so on. So, of course, this will also be explained as part of the program. So we will have a pilot program that will start next year. So we will develop the whole course. We will have a pilot program, and that will be targeted, as we said, to women in transition periods in the German-speaking world. So our first pilot will be in German. We will gather feedback, we will evaluate, and then also translate the program into English. And it will be available through our Women Lead community, and then also through Yippie, because very conveniently, both communities are also on Mighty Network, so they have the same kind of look and feel for people. And it's very easy, if you have the app, for example, to switch in between the networks. And, say, it's easy when you onboard well to one of the communities also to understand how to use the other community, for example. And whatever, is the place that that feels best is where people can go and then do the course. And then, of course, on Yippie, it will also be available to other genders, because the Women Lead community is, of course, women-only space. So that is basically rolling out then from the initial pilot for German-speaking women. It will roll out into different languages, and also to everyone, really, to make it fully accessible. So we are really excited to start, and very happy really to connect with others in that space. So it would be, okay, I jumped too far here. So we are super happy if there are any ideas suggesting experts maybe for some of the modules, or also just, providing input, because there will be, of course, one or say maximum two persons, I imagine, let's see, who will actually do the speaking, so it's also easy for people to focus. But it could also be, for example, in a dialogue way that one or the other module is set up. But definitely we want to have input from more experts on the various topics, to say, okay, what is really important when we set up the specific curriculum. We're also looking then, say, starting in late spring, I would say, next year, to look for pilot participants, and also over the whole run of the project, which is a 2-year project, we will be looking for partner communities. Where on the one hand, maybe it could also be rolled out, or their members could join the Women Lead community, or the whole community could have their own space or section on the Women Lead community, for example, where people could then also participate in the course. And in any case, we're always open as Women Lead community, but also, of course, I know that Yippie is very happy to have partners on board. I'm also very happy to be a partner myself. Thank you so much, Gabi, for that opportunity with my coaching offer. So yeah, we are very happy to collaborate, and yeah, I would open the floor maybe first also to you, Gabi, if there's anything that you think should be mentioned, like keeping in mind that we want to keep it short and sweet as an initial introduction, and then also open the floor if there are any questions.
I mean, I think also I'm in the program, but I think you've given a very good outline. The emphasis is really to collaborate. I love you mentioned we also want to have internal fun when developing the whole thing. Angelika mentioned the time period of like 2 years. So what we start in December is really developing, thinking, getting more experts on board, building the program. Then doing the pilot in spring, and in parallel, Angelika and me are program coordinators, leaders. We're always open for leveraging and enlarging the network, because that's, I think, one of our magic things that we not only love to do, but what we target also to do networking, and to do networking with purpose. Yeah, we love to chat, of course, but it's really about project related, and I think there's a couple of things where you can dock on and relate and find people who are either interested to contribute or to participate. So yes, we are open. And the second thing, also emphasizing again, just repeating Angelika, is wherever you remarked, probably in the audience now, wherever you will onboard, you will find the course. So we really want to make sure that all involved communities, existing and enlarging, will have access, because accessibility is one of the keys, and the targets will also support the goals. That's it.
Thank you, Gabi. So yeah, let's see if there are any questions maybe. Can either, of course, post them in chat, or just, open your mic if there is anything that you're specifically curious about, or any questions that you have at this moment. But of course, you can always contact both Gabi and myself. And I will also put into the chat, as I said, like most of you are part also of the Women Lead community. Bernd is not allowed to, I'm afraid. No. But yeah, please feel free also to share it with other women. And I will also share in the chat the links to Yippie and Action for Happiness.
Thank you.
So they're all here. And I'll also send them out still to those people who had expressed interest in being here today, but unfortunately did not make it. So if there are no questions at this moment.
Well, I have a question.
Yes, you have a question.
But I was briefly, wie sagt man, I had a telephone call that I needed to answer, so maybe I missed something. But since you mentioned this Copenhagen mayor's thing, I'm of course interested in the political impact.
Yes.
And how does this spread into the larger society? And could you say something more about, is there anything planned within your project, for example, or are there other initiatives like that one where these kinds of activities around health are gaining more traction? For example, I'm thinking of the Living Cities project by Marilyn Hamilton, or I think that could fit in there as well. So, and yeah, I'm just curious about the political dimension or the larger societal how could this be scaled?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely the idea also to reach out to partner organizations in that field. For example, also in Vienna, we have the WIC, which is the funding, like coordination and funding agency for public health. And they also have a very holistic understanding of health, in fact. So happiness is actually specifically also mentioned on their website, and we'll also reach out to to partners like this, to also see with them, especially how we could reach target groups that do not usually have this access to, let's say, expensive workshops that would maybe also, be able to get them the information, at least, not of course possibly the accountability part. But that actually, interestingly, we had been talking to people working also in health literacy when Bernd and I went to Salzburg the other week. So there was a seminar on health policy and on health literacy. So there are more people in this field that we will also want to reach out to, because it's exactly also this like how to make it relatable to people, even on the one hand that it's important to take that time, for the self-care, and especially in such situations where you have the impression you don't have the time. Yeah, that goes definitely into that direction. But of course, on the broader scale, this is, let's say, the organizational aspect that I will talk about in the second part now will be more like going into communities and so on. The individual one that I presented now, so it's basically a question of connecting also with public partners. And then on the other hand, one of the basically the impact that we do also expect is basically the spillover from the women taking part in these courses and building up their healthy habits to spill over into the communities, through them being part of their local communities, through the families and so on that they are part of. I don't know, Gabi, if there's anything you would like to add, maybe.
Yes, I imagine everyone also. We emphasize it's a personal development, especially starting by yourself, of course. But as Angelika said, we are all part of a cell, if you wish. The smallest cell is the family, and then we go over neighbors, we go in our local communities and so on. Everyone is either working or in some other system, also those women we are targeting at. So this is also one idea that, for example, a woman wants to participate and she wants her employer to pay it. Just one idea. I mean, so employers will get knowledge of this. And this will not happen by coincidence, but we are thinking about people in different stages in their life cycle, important change and transition phases. So it automatically comes on the one side. On the other side, it must be part of the project planning to consider also where do those people stand, which connection do they have, which networks, and what could support the whole thing, so that it gets more reach out. Yeah. When I heard Angelika talking and asking you this, hearing the question simply, it automatically came into my mind. We are very well. Our network is broad, and I'm very much engaged in, or more and more engaged in schools with respects of teaching teachers. in positive psychology, in positive leadership, and so on. So, and majority, it is still the case. I'm also in gender and diversity things. It is the case that if in a leading position, so being a director of a school, it is female still. So we also have this part of branch, let's say, which we can connect to. It's just an addition, again, Angelika, which came to my mind now.
Yeah.
So
And actually, as you were speaking, as you said, the outreach and visibility is one big component, actually, also of the project. And what we had discussed, for example, already initially, is that will definitely also reach out specifically to unemployment offices, for example. So there are programs also for women, of course, to specifically see when they are getting back to work, maybe after also taking care leave or so. But also in the broad sense, of course, these are women that are registered with the unemployment service that are often in such a transition period. So there is also a connection there to public services and public policy. Yeah.
And again, our network is large. I'm still in the education, in my mind, in the education sector, positive education. There are initiatives really engaging with politics and systems in Austria, and really actively talking to people in the parliament, making them strong for a better future for children in the sense of education. And we are connected, so this is just another activity for them that they will be interested in. Yeah. Does this answer the question a little bit? That's a long answer.
And we're definitely interested in hearing from you as well, Elke, if you have ideas in this area.
Well, I guess we'll be in touch, and I have this in mind now, and there will be a huge, like a ringing bell whenever the topic of health comes across.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, this is also something that, like it was in 2018 for me with the happiness. It's like, okay, now the spotlight is on health. So as I said, like
Which is part.
by
Happiness is part
coincidence,
of it, right?
we were sitting together with these people talking about health. And by coincidence, somebody at the volunteer fair where I was with Action for Happiness, as I mentioned, the spokesperson for health of the Green Party happened to come to our stall and gave me her business card. And so we are open to more of such coincidences. And actually also the happiness coach, Nigel, that brought me to Action for Happiness first, he also immediately said, he has connections there to the health lab. There is a basically connected also with Impact Hub and Education Lab and Climate Lab. There's also Health Lab. So definitely will also connect to them, and they are linked again to many public policy actors. So
yeah, just as a side note, I will be speaking at the Vault General Assembly next week, and they have this Eurosense capture where mental health was one of the big issues that people mentioned as a problematic topic, and especially what I'm hearing is also that in the community of the Volt Party, well, the Pan-European community, it's a big issue, right? Because everybody's working there more or less for free, and people are burning out, and so on and so forth. So many people come up with this topic and trying to take better care of themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, so important. Yeah. Thanks
Not to speak of all the change maker communities that we're part of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Elke, please do mention ACE as well when you're there.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Wow, I think that's it's really a huge topic, and I'm very, very happy that we'll be able to focus on this for the next 2 years, also in a paid manner, because as you said, that's the thing with as change makers, Gabi is super engaged in bringing Yippie, new people, new content, and so on. The same with me for the Women Lead community, and it's very nice that for some parts of this now, for the next 2 years, we'll also get paid to increase the visibility and the outreach of our communities. So to have a little less pressure, exactly.
And I love the focus. It's I just like it has such a focus. We are very clear on what we had to formulate, of course, for the project. We are very clear on what firstly what differentiates us, because the market is there. Obviously, people need and especially women need those support offers. But what does differentiate us? So we really worked on what makes us attractive, what makes the program attractive, what specializes us. Yeah, why those three organizations? What makes them special? What's their expertise? What is their experience? What have we seen? Which does work, which doesn't work. So I think yes, making us special and attractive is also something we are working on very hard.
Well, thank you very much, Elke, for your question and for keeping eyes open. Same goes for everybody. Any connections that we see, that would be lovely. And actually, I would then transition now to the second part, basically, where we are looking more at the systems questions, but of course it all comes again still from the individuals, right? Because in the end, systems are also made up of their elements. And if we're looking at the workplace and happiness, it's the people who are working there. There was an interview between Nick Marks and Luis Gallardo, who is Luis Gallardo is one of the founders of the World Happiness Foundation, and Nick Marks is a happiness specialist and statistician. So he's a researcher, and it's quite fascinating. He wrote a new book, and the book is called "Happiness is a Serious Business." And so it's also about how these questions, and also especially the data collection that he's doing also with his tool Friday Pulse, but also more broadly collecting data about happiness.
That when we feel good, we do good work. So yes, happiness is a signal that we're a good fit, but it is also highly functional. You will all know Barbara Fredrickson's work, that positive emotions are functional, that all emotions are functional, the negative emotions are functional. So at the most simple level, I say that happiness is a good, bad signal. And as a statistician, I'm interested in capturing a signal statistically. But then in teams, it is the functionality of positive emotions that is where the magic is. That's where the magic is. It's in how they help us be more creative, more collaborative, all this great stuff. So
win. How do you do it, and how do you come up with that?
So I do want to make a nuance actually here, because I talk about a good bad signal about happiness, and I'm doing it vertically. But if you were doing it energetically, it would be a curve, because when you're happy, you've got a lot of positive energy to go forward. When you're unhappy, you also have energy, but to change. In between is the dip. Is you get stuck in okay. Okay has got very little energy around it. And actually, so somehow you can get trapped between the two. So there's just to hold that in mind. I think this is why when we think about motivating teams and sports teams, some coaches get away with being angry and frightening people because it does give them energy towards, avoidance and to avoiding the coach's wrath, or if they've got a focused goal. I think there's absolute clear evidence that fear and anger, not sadness, but fear and anger can motivate people. The issue is that happiness, positivity, all the positive emotions, and we can unpack those because there's different types of positive emotions, definitely, but they are giving you energy to go forward. And so when you look at the data, like this is, I talk about it in a chapter on creativity. There's a classic experiment that Ison, I can't remember what her first name was, did, but she was doing the Duncker candle experiment. So probably many of you will know this, but the Duncker candle experiment is that you get given a candle and some matches and some tacks, and you said, can you attach the candle to the wall in such a way as the wax doesn't fall on the wall? It's a trick because there's a box of tacks and you can put the box on the side, right? But it's basically a problem-solving task. And when they put people into a negative mood, they solved it more than the people in a neutral mood. But when they put them in a positive mood, they solved it 3 times more than the negative mood. So you get a little bit of a problem in that negative emotions can work up to a point, which is why I think organizations, team leaders who've never been shown how to use positive emotions to motivate them, they get stuck in, well, fear works, I'm sticking with it because it does a bit. And undoing it is sometimes difficult, but that's in a way sometimes a task. So motivations, all emotions are energy, and move is the Latin root from it. It's about moving out of emotion. I mean, the difference between an emotion and a cognition is that emotion is experienced bodily because it's preparing us to act. The only two cells that fire in the body are neurons and muscle cells, and emotions connect the two. That we're ready to act. If we're angry, we've got that hot energy where we're ready to fight. If we're frightened, we've got energy to either remove ourselves. Okay, we can lose energy and freeze, and there's much more complexity to it than just fight or flight. But basically, it's very skeletal, musculoskeletal, our reactions when we're in emotions. And positive emotions, as you all know, people just thought was a signal to carry on, which it is. It is partly that. But Barbara Fredrickson unpacked that and showed that it broadened our repertoire of responses and built our resources. There is a caveat to Fredrickson, which I don't think is talked about very much. It's something I've talked about with a friend and colleague. I don't know. Do you know the Norwegian psychologist Jorve Tisserøe? Do you know him, Luis?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. And he's just written a book, quite academic this year, on a new theory of well-being. And it's something him and I talked about for 20 years. And I didn't realize we were writing about it at the same time. But as a organism, we have to maintain stability, and we also have to create change. And those are two different energies within us. And some positive emotions more align with stability. So contentment, most relational emotions, not all of them, but most of them are about creating networks for stability. It's really, really important that we have enough stability in life. But then we need to create change. And if you look at the emotions which are about change, they're often quite narrowing, actually. So interest is the classic one. We focus. We don't broaden our attention with interest. We narrow it. Enthusiasm, we definitely narrow our attention. We're going for something, and there's nothing worse than someone who's enthusiastic and going in the wrong direction, because that's a trouble to control. Courage means we have to shut off the dangers. So we blinker ourselves. So not all positive emotions broaden. Some of them narrow, and they're the ones that are narrow are more about driving change. I call them striving emotions. And the ones which are more about maintaining stability, I call sustaining emotions. So I think there's two types. And at work, it's important to understand that there are those two types, because work is a lot about striving. It's a lot about goal achievement. That's what work is. You know, we can't make work not about that. So not all types of happiness are always appropriate, or there's a balance to be struck. And I see that in my data because I have sort of negative indicators of those two, which is I have indicators on stress and indicators on boredom. So stress is a lack of stability, lack of contentment, and boredom is a lack of interest. So when you put it into the stats, you find that actually boredom is 3 to 4 times worse for unhappiness than stress. So being bored at work is much worse than being stressed. And that's kind of interesting. And you can show it statistically because you've got the data in the same data set. You can show that that's what's happening. So that's the sort of thing I think that statistics and being a statistician starts bringing to the table is hard data on some things that we kind of know, but actually showing where they are.
Yeah, I found that really fascinating. Especially we're talking really a lot about stress, right? And its effects. But then, yeah, it's very interesting that boredom actually is much worse. And it's also fascinating, what science is working on, and how much you can actually measure. And this is something that is also central actually to the framework that I want to present. It was developed by the World Happiness Foundation together with AENOR. This is Luis. He's said kind of the father of the World Happiness Foundation, but also the World Happiness Academy. So here, this is actually part of the Chief Wellbeing Officer certification. It was that interview. And the CBL, what it's called, Certificación de Bienestar Laboral. So this is the actual name and the only official name so far, because it only exists in Spanish so far. And I took the course to be certified consultant for this new framework that was, as mentioned, developed by the foundation together with AENOR. And I'll quickly let you know a little bit about these, because yeah, they're not so well known, maybe, especially in our area. So the idea is really that to bring together like this aspect of the well-being of individuals, also with the question of business success, and to create a standard for this that organizations can actually apply for. It's an excellency model, and yeah, I'll explain a bit about that and how this is also very holistic in the way it approaches health and well-being. And yeah, here you see also Luis as part of the global happiness movement, and Raul, he's the CEO actually of the especially Spanish-speaking part, also of the foundation. And the foundation is also advocating really for 2 UN resolutions that are in this area. And what I especially love is that common goal that everybody has, not only part of the foundation, but I see it very broadly that, of course, also Yippie, Action for Happiness, and so on have this common goal in the end. It's the 10 billion happy by 2050. And this is, I really like that moonshot because it's very concrete, and it is a moonshot. But it goes exactly into that direction of, having a thriving world, right, that we're working on at different levels. So I'm very happy to work with them. And AENOR is actually a global organization, standardization and auditing, but they're also providing training in the area of the different standards. And yeah, they're working, let's say, with all the classical standards, but also then including, for example, diversity and other ones that are more in the area of regenerative and inclusive future. And the idea, basically, for whom was it made, this certification? It's really for organizations that already, make this connection between well-being and happiness, and also the well-being of the organization, that have a higher purpose, than just the financial profits, and that they also see that this is something important as an organization to really be a responsible employer. And I really like that model that they showed with the needs pyramid, also of Maslow, showing that this actually applies also to organizations, kind of what they're catering for. And yeah, this is what I tried to get rid of with AI. Didn't work so very well, because I thought, well, we can also figure that out ourselves, I think. So this is the please participate now section. So yeah, of course, meeting the basic needs, at that level, the organizations do not really care about the question of happiness. So it's rather, okay, well, we give people a job, so they should be happy that they get a job, and at least they can, buy something to eat and have housing over, to stay.
I'm just thinking about the Soviet Union as an example, which is, well, not in place anymore, but they had a very, holistic, in a way, approach or ambition to provide for basic needs, right? I was just thinking, well, which organization is catering for basic needs? And it was the Soviet style, I don't know, employers, factories, and then they sometimes provided housing. They provided all sorts of very basic things. Yes, so just as a thought.
Yeah.
It's not common anymore.
Yeah.
More liberal settings.
Mm-hmm. Very true. I think probably at that there are in some of the parts probably the safety, so the kind of, okay, there is stability around, okay, I will keep on employing people, so there, I think that that additional social aspect was probably there as well, I suppose. But maybe not the question, the next level, let's say, with the relations, the joint work, and the importance of feeling like part of a team, like part of a family, so you also have these types of organizations, right? So that would be more on that level. And with the esteem, so these are really then organizations that already understand that happiness makes a difference. So they make it like one of their priorities on the HR side. But then when we come to the level of self-actualization, this is really where they clearly see the benefit also for the organization as such. So it's part of the strategy, overall strategy, to care for the well-being of the employees, and not only of the employees actually, but also going beyond their employees only. So there is a different levels one can look at, and that kind of mirrors the different levels that are also foreseen, the levels of excellence in the model. So there is like the standard, so to speak, and this is, let's say, the more classical. Okay, we're starting to understand that the factors that contribute to happiness is something that we also want to include in our work. And then at the second level, at the excellence level, this is really where, okay, it's a priority. With the, say, high-performing organizations, this is kind of where it's really part of the strategy, and it's continuously being also measured. So they're interested in seeing how does it impact actually also our relationship, for example, not only with the employees, but also with the suppliers, with the community that we're working in, and with society at large. So that's, again, a different level. In terms of this holistic approach, what I really like about the standard and the certification is that it's looking at all of these different aspects. We can see kind of this block 1 here. It's kind of the features or the elements. So this is kind of, let's say, more classical approach in terms of, having a standard. You're looking like you have different headings, typical leadership processes, people, strategies you have here as well. And I like that it also goes hand in hand also with the culture very clearly. And you also have this part of innovation and creativity. So that was also something that Nick Marks was talking about, right? It's also a question of what type of emotions, and also happy emotions, are actually good for this area, and how can you also, of course, support this structurally, because this is, of course, all not only about the individuals, but also about the structures, and how do we support happiness in the organization and beyond. So this is already, like quite encompassing, but let's say it's quite regular for a standard to look at all of these areas. What is a great complement is this block 2, which is really about the outcomes. So one of the things that you have to do if you do want to get that certification is you have to consistently measure. So all of these areas, you have to be able to demonstrate that what you're doing also makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, and you have to find out because you're measuring, then you have to change your strategy. So I really like that it doesn't, get stuck at most of the management system standards, which basically just tell you, if you're looking at quality management or, for example, okay, I have a management system. Yes, the system works, and that's great, but actually it doesn't say anything about the product, about, how people are feeling in that organization or anything like that. And here, this certification really requires you to measure, and to measure very specific things, and then learn from that. So we already have, of course, the question of, say, the collaborator. So that these are the employees actually, but of course they could have different status. So there are short-term and temporary and so on. So it's called collaborators, and their relatives. So we're looking already there at the families as well. And also what impact, for example, the work has then directly on the family members. We're looking at the suppliers. We're looking at the community and the environment. So it's also, for example, a question of how often do you go out as an organization and talk about what you're doing to the community? How open are you in receiving people from the community into your workforce, for example? So also the question of diversity then, of course, let's say the more classical parts in business administration, in management, is of course the clients. Yes, of course, this is what most organizations are looking at, right? But in this case, you're also not only looking at customer satisfaction, because everybody working in business understands this has an impact on your business. So you're interested in that. But actually, you're looking specifically at how the measures that you're taking for happiness of your employees also is affecting customer satisfaction. So you make a direct link. And that also means that you can basically, by demonstrating that and being an example, this goes into the direction, Elke, what you were asking, like how can you also bring that to society at large? How can you affect policy changes there? If you have more and more organizations demonstrating clearly the impact of the health and well-being of their employees and the strategies that they're using to the community, but also to their business goals, that, of course, can really have a big impact in convincing others to do the same. That are maybe now still only looking at the client satisfaction, at the customer satisfaction, and at the business goals. But by demonstrating these clear links and collecting data that also even has to be shared as part of the if you really want to reach the highest excellency level, it's a lot is also about communication to all of these stakeholders and also to the public about what you're doing. So that there is the idea also of having that bigger ripple effect if an organization is taking that certification. So this is really a very interesting and comprehensive model there. And maybe I'll take questions in case you have any already at this moment, before going also into the benefits for the organizations that can already be demonstrated on a general level, let's say. If there are no questions at this moment, then I will continue, and then we can always come back to the slide afterwards as well.
We have 10 minutes. Are you aware of that? Okay.
Yes, that'll be fine. That will be fine. Thank you. So yeah, how it works in practice, just very shortly. The idea is that people like myself, who are certified consultants, actually go to the organizations and prepare them basically for the initial audit that they have. And so it's a classical auditing system, because AENOR would then come and audit them to have an initial audit and then follow up and then a recertification. And the idea with the consultants coming first is that you already do a pre-assessment. So you discuss with the organization what is actually the level of excellence that they want to reach, where are they right now, and what's the gap, and what could be an action plan. So that basically is what you do with the organization. You create an action plan to see that they can actually then, with the audit, reach the level of excellency that they're striving for. And then comes the official certification with the auditor from AENOR. And my role is that I did the training to be a consultant, but actually I'm not planning on let's say being competition for my Spanish-speaking colleagues there who also took the certification. But the plan is actually to translate now the whole framework into English and German. And then see if we can find partners, and of course also organizations that are interested in taking that certification. So yeah, here are some pictures from our Spanish-speaking colleagues when they were already presenting the model in various settings. And yeah, it's very clear actually the advantages that organizations can have from happier employees. So this is something, of course, that we're also presenting, when presenting the model. It's in terms of productivity, retention rates, of course, lower rotation rates. I think this is all very specific and clear, especially to HR and innovation people. But actually, I find these ones even more interesting, let's say, on a general level when speaking to people who are not directly in HR. But if you can also demonstrate with studies that customer satisfaction ratings improve, that there are more sales and a lower rate of defective products. So this is something that actually interests also the managers that are mainly interested in the financial aspects of the business. And it's important also to convince them, of course, because in the end, of course, they will also have to invest, right, in the programs promoting happiness of their employees, and hopefully also into the certification. So there is lots of benefits. We already said, of course, you have all these benefits in general as an organization, but in addition, if doing the certification, of course, you have evidence that you're collecting as part actually of the certification that you can demonstrate. You also have a clear commitment to continuous improvement that is helpful to be able to demonstrate to all stakeholders. It's of course a branding benefit as well, especially also when we're looking at employment market where it's difficult to attract maybe a really good talent and especially keep it because people are not so much used anymore that, okay, they are starting in one organization, they stay with it for the rest of their lives. If it's not attractive to them, especially talent will leave. There, of course, the challenge is also with the next generations that have more of a focus also on a balanced lifestyle and their well-being. So there's a lot of different benefits also to become a role model, especially for those that are starting now with the certification as we're just getting started. And yeah, that is already the end of the, let's say, official presentation that also the colleagues in the Spanish-speaking world are giving in Spanish, obviously. But in addition to that, I would like to invite again to engage here. On the one hand, also suggesting well-being and measurement tools. So there is actually one that is being promoted with the certification, which is Happy Force, because this was developed actually by some people who are involved also in the certification. So this is a kind of quick pulse where you can measure the well-being of the employees. There is, of course, also from Nick Marks, whom we saw before. There is Friday Pulse, which is also a really neat possibility to measure. And there is also there's some newer tools on the market as well, which are trying to provide also a more holistic view and possibility for people to engage in learning at the same time as allowing the organization to measure mental well-being, especially. So any additional ideas very welcome, because of course we're supposed to talk also about concrete actions for the action plan. Sorry, Elke.
I just saw that Antonella wrote that she had to leave, so we can speak German again, just in case. But we're done now, I think. So wir können wieder Deutsch reden, weil wir wieder so.
Well, we're already at the end of the presentation, in any case. So, yeah, it's also about ideas for potential partners, maybe for the certification, for co-marketing the certification, and also leads if there are ideas for organizations that might be interested in working on that. So, for example, I'll definitely, once it is translated, I will reach out to OMV, which I understand they are very much a pioneer also in this area. And I heard also about a very holistic health program at IBM. And Nigel said that he has some contacts there, so I will definitely reach out to them as well. And any other ideas for kind of more pioneering organizations in that area that might be interested in also getting an official recognition for being pioneers in that field would be very helpful.